And if you guys haven't guessed by the fact that this is broken up into 2 videos, my phone is an absolute trash heap and has a really irritating habit of not continuing to work when I record video or shoot photos with it anymore. So I apologize in advance for this being multiple files. I literally had no other choice, because this thing is just a piece of garbage, and I'm not going to replace it until I find something that will work. And that's a luxury expense right now. Which this thing is eating all of that money up. Yeah, you can see my 1,000,001 in parts and loose crud piles that form everywhere around where I'm working. Let's see here. I'm going to give you a quick back view before I flip the light up so we can see the front a little better. You can see we have the dinette cabinets are all done. The dinette itself is done. The batteries are actually inside the compartments. I do actually have the blog post stuff put together for this. It just hasn't been published because I haven't had a chance to finish the blog. We've even got the little box back in place, so that's really more of a placeholder right now. I still need to take it and the receiver unit over to a friend to have them taken apart and tested and probably recapped, because it's 1970s electrolytic caps probably in there, and they're most likely bled to death. You can see our air conditioning unit set in the roof and my screw-up hole, which will eventually disappear underneath the bezel. The back bed that still needs working on, that just is a murder to work on, so it's like I could have spent all summer trying to work on that because it's slow and arduous work. So I've kind of put it off to do in the barn since I'm going to actually get Mr. Kid out of there this year. All right. Turn our light up. There we go. But yeah, you can see the gas mains mostly put in. The water heater's been in for a while. The sewer main connecting for the sink is run all the way back, so all the sewer pipe is now in. And we're starting. You can see the partition wall. That is finally installed permanently. We're starting to build the kitchen area up and make the final close-ins. That trim is absolute trash. It is a hinge roof vent. The trim with it is pot metal. It was a nightmare. I had to cut it to make it fit because it's meant for a thicker roof, and it just literally bends and cracks the paint off and everything. I absolutely hate working with it. I'll probably put some trim around the inside edge just to hide where it's messy. Alright, and here's what we were working on today. That should look familiar. Anyone who knows Mr. Kit, that is Mr. Kit's range hood, and that is because Mr. Kit's range and range hood, and of course his refrigerator back here, have been swapped with the ones that came in the kit, or came in Miss Mary. Why did I do that? Because the stainless steel ones that came in Miss Mary were in pretty rough shape, and I didn't really want to rebuild them when I had ones I already knew that were in good shape. And I'll let the next owner tackle those. I'll just make certain they work well enough to sell. If they want to make them pretty, they can make them pretty. I just don't have the energy to do it. But yeah, so here's where our oven's going to go next. We still need to, of course, finish putting insulation in along the outer tub walls in the front here. And we need to build the little narrow, there's going to be a narrow false wall in front of this that the paneling goes on, because over here is where over here in the corner is where our breaker box for the inverter circuit's going to go, and right next to that is where the inverter is going to mount, and then there's going to be a grill front right here that goes through that little false wall for the air that circulate for the inverter, and there'll be a cabinet door here covering up the breakers for the inverter circuits. There'll also be a auto switchover thing that'll be down in there that will switch a certain set of outlets between the inverter and the shore power when it's plugged in. And then this is where our kitchen cabinets go. You can see the hoses coming out for the 40-odd gallon fresh tank that's right there. Our fill neck, this is just stuck in there to keep dirt out right now. It's not actually glued in all the way. We're going to cover the water heater. You can see the cab over, as we said, is absolutely full of crap right now. There's a new hose. Parts and pieces and loose bits on mine, tools and things. It's because everything requires something else to go in first before you can put it back on, which is a pain in the ass, to say the least. Our collection of the old window trims, I've got to find some new trim to put in to make new ones out of. Those are made out of particle board. They are falling apart and look like crap. So I'm going to try and find something new. It's going to be a snug fit because we kind of we're using every square inch of space to maximize things in this. So the trim is going to be kind of loose hanging on the right and edge mounted around the rest. We would be working on this part tomorrow, but it's going to rain the next 4 days, so we're going to probably start putting in pipes instead, because that I can do while it's raining, because PEX is easy to work with. And so we'll be boring the holes down here for the PEX pipes to go through. And just come through here. There is our main fuse panel and converter. And that is a Cadet 120 volt electric in-wall heater. And forgive the low light, I just don't have much light in here because we haven't got any of the electrical stuff working yet. There we go. I need to modify those vent pipes. Even the special ones that come from Suburban are like an inch too short. It's literally 2-inch exhaust pipe. I'm just going to go get a section of 2-inch exhaust pipe and make 2 custom pipes to fit in there. It's not that great a difference that I'm going to worry about it causing breathing problems for the furnace. It's not like I'm going a foot longer. I'm going 1.5 inches longer than what they already supply. So, and without that, the furnace won't actually reach the front wall because the way that overlaps and how thick the wall is, it's too short and we can't get it in there because as you can see, the sewer pipe's right there. You can see our duct line for the furnace, because our furnace is both a direct discharge and has a 4-inch duct output on it, which we're splitting into 2 3-inch ducts. One line goes down into the floor compartment. So over here, under that floor is where the holding tank is, and that's actually all boxed in, and there's sensors, wires, and everything that go in there. And then there's also our mixed holding tank for black and gray, and that is heated and it's completely enclosed along with the valves. That way we can use this in the winter without having to worry about the holding tank freezing. Something Mr. Kit always had a problem with is when it started getting down below freezing, the holding tank valves, even with the windshield washer trick, would still freeze up until it thawed out. So that'll be nice to keep the holding tank from freezing. I'm debating actually sistering a second holding tank onto the first one and just kind of joining them together with a pipe section. I'm not certain if I'm going to do that or not yet, because I couldn't find a tank that fit the whole compartment, and there's still a nice bit of space under there. So if I can find a small one that fits in there, that I can just connect a 3-inch pipe between the two and a breather pipe up at the top, I might just do that to bolster our holding tank capacity that much further, since it's plenty of room to do it in there. So that's where Miss Mary's at currently. She's actually standing on all her legs right now. She has been for the last few months. We've been using that to help stretch the floor out, actually filling the holding tank up completely full to do the water test. It's still actually full. It has evaporated off some, of course, because of the heat in the summer and whatnot. But it has done a nice job of actually pulling some bend out of the floor that we weren't able to stretch before, so we could get the walls in. The floor in the shower is all fiberglass. I'm gotta buy some topside. Sorry, I can't turn the flashlight back on here. So you can kind of see it. Actually, hang on. There we go. So you can see it better now. But that is 2 gallons of fiberglass resin with fiberglass cloth. And this is automotive grade stuff that's designed to be below waterline, automotive marine. So it's designed to be waterline stuff. So it's tough as crap. On top of a 5-inch piece of plywood. Anyway, so that is all poured. You can see the flanging for the edges that connects the walls, because there's metal flashing behind everything. That's poured in there permanently. You can see where the drain is. It's filled up with rosin while we were pouring that. I need to drill the hole out again and then sand that down to a curve so that the drain is slightly recessed into the floor. And then I'm going to paint this whole thing with topside, which is a walk-on grade marine paint that goes on the surface of boats, and I'm going to do the first gloss coat, and I have a second one which is a texture type, and I'm going to tape off some strips in the front here to make a no slip on the floor using that textured white. And so what we need to do next, when we get around to doing that, is we need to fill the tank back up because it'll push the flange for the toilet back up a little bit, get the butyl tape under that to permanently seal that. And then we're going to do our paint, drain the tank so that it pulls that down tight. Then we are going to caulk around the edge, and then that will be ready to put that'll be watertight and ready to put the toilet on. We just need to, over here the sink is in, as you can see. I need to drill that out a little larger, that hole over there. That is actually, I'm going to put a marine access hatch there so we can get to the, breather vent that's in there for the shower drain and whatnot. Because those little cheater vents do tend to fail sometimes, and we need to be able to get our hand in there to thread it out and replace it. Also, if we ever need to pull any new wire down to the underfloor compartment, we'll need to reach in there to snake it through. So we're just going to get a access hatch. We're going to widen it out from that circle to the right a little bit. And that is going to be, that's going to go right there. Those two little brass nipples there are actually the connections for the shower assembly, because we're using just a regular faucet over, I can't get the light in here any better, so forgive the... So we're going to put a regular sink faucet there, and then we have a shower assembly, an outdoor shower assembly. It looks like an old wash tub one that we're going to put back on the wall, and that's going to have hand bent copper pipe going from that up to it, and then that is where the shower comes in. So we actually have a separate shower from the sink faucet, because the RV shower faucets and whatnot are absolute trash. And I've had, the last one I put in Mr. Kit, I actually literally had to take it apart and drill it out so we could get enough water flow through it to take a shower. So rather than deal with that, we just got a standard outdoor RV, outdoor house shower. Nice old schooly looking one. And so that's what we're going to put back on the wall in there, and then we're just going to hand bend some 1/2-inch copper pipe to go from those flares to it. So that's pretty much it for now. We've been plugging along. We're going to continue plugging along. Once the weather dries out, I'm going to put the finished paneling on that front wall there, and the piece of 1/8-inch plywood that's going to go underneath the edge there to hide to finish tucking the bed insulation up. It's been exposed in the sun for 5 years now, so it's all completely bleached of its pink. So we're going to put our plywood in, which will shove all this back up, and we'll shove all that back up in there. Then we're going to put our finished wall paneling on with our happy bucket of, God, I hate working with that stuff glue because it's a nightmare to trowel this stuff for hours. It just kills my back. We'll get that done. We still need to run the last bit of the black pipe over to the propane compartment so that we can hook it up to the tanks. We've got, if you look in there, you can kind of see the copper pipe that's already been pulled for the refrigerator. That goes across the top, makes a loop over back in there. I don't think you can see it. And then comes up. No, it didn't go down low enough. So there it is. Yes, there's a little loop back in there. And then that comes up. And then that's going to have a little threaded 90 on it and then another short piece of pipe to go hook up to the fridge. And then that will connect into a T over here. It's black pipe with a nipple, and then the gas line will come in through the sidewall. And why we went with the black pipe versus just hand bending copper. That malleable copper that you can get that the RV is originally made with, that stuff gets brittle over time with the natural flexing of the camper. So the more that stuff flex, the harder it gets until eventually it cracks. It tends to crack very finely, so it's not a very visible crack, but you start leaking propane, and so it's a risk. And so since Mr. Kit and just about every standard RV out there uses a black pipe main, and with just bending short runs of bend copper off of it for appliances, that's what we're going to do here, because that is a lot more durable than dead soft copper pipe, which is what we're that dead soft copper tubing, which is what they normally come with. Yeah, and it goes, like you can see, it goes all the way back over here for the hooking up to the furnace. So, all right, so that's it. Thanks for keeping up with us. Oh yeah, you can see outlets on both sides and our light in the middle. But yeah, so thanks for keeping up with us. We're trying to keep up to date on things. I should hopefully have the last of the major structural work done here pretty soon, so we can keep working on Miss Mary all through the winter and finally get her into service, because this has been 5 years working on her and I'm ready to be done and start camping. This has been a very, very long project in which I thought I could get this done in 8 months and go on a big trip, and I was extremely delusional then. So, all right, folks, thanks for following along with Big Matt and his Going Merry, and we'll keep you in touch.